The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. The X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. On the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and our growing family of broadcast affiliates right across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. What a great hour we have lined up for you this first hour of tonight's show, X Zone Nation. My guest is mentalist Mark Edward. And Mark has written a great new book entitled Psychic Blues, Confessions of a Conflicted Medium. Mark is a professional mentalist who specializes in the magic of the mind. He has spent 25 years performing in world-class venues and is now one of only 5 specially chosen mediums in history of Hollywood's famed Magic Castle. His website is www. Got your pencils ready? All right, themarkedward.com. That's www.themarkedward.com. And Mark, welcome to the X Zone.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
This must be a very busy time of year for you. Halloween.
Yes, it's really, I don't think I've ever been this busy. It's great. I love it.
Why do you think so many people are showing more and more interest in magic as well as other aspects of the paranormal, including psychic phenomenon?
Well, I think with the conditions in the world, there's a couple different reasons. I think, as the economy gets worse and we get involved in more and more conflicts, wars, that sort of thing, it's traditional in the spiritualist world that when there's problems, people want answers.
Yeah.
And if someone's there to sell them one, guess what? People come out of the woodwork, and they may or may not be qualified to even give a reasonable answer. So that's sort of what my book is about.
Your book title has intrigued me. Psychic Blues, Confessions of a Conflicted Medium. How does a medium get conflicted?
Well, I think the confliction comes with that in my experience working as a performer, again, I was never a believer. I started off as a magician and a mentalist, and I decided to basically scam the scammers and see how far I could get in the psychic world without being caught. I think I helped some people along the way. I saved a life. If you remember in the book, there's a story about a woman's life who I saved.
Yes.
I did some good, but I didn't like the woo factor. I didn't like the supernatural part of it because I really didn't think that the things where I helped people really didn't have anything to do with anything supernormal or paranormal. They were just common sense. So that's the blues part of it, is how can we extract the baloney out of it and really be able to just sit down with people and talk to them. Because that's all people really want.
Exactly, and I've seen this happen time and time again where just people want to talk, and if there's nobody around at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and they need to talk, wait a minute, let's call the psychic hotline.
Also I think because of the so-called psychic allure, it seems to charm people into thinking that that's a better answer than just talking to your family or talking to a grief or family counselor or therapist. And a lot of people can't afford to talk to a psychiatrist or a therapist. a lot of people right now. So it's the poor man's therapy. But the problem is that the psychic industry wants to get a hook in you. They don't want you to get better. They want you to get dependent on them. And it can become an addiction just like alcoholism or drugs or anything else. I've seen it happen.
All right, Mark.
That's the blues.
Mark, stand by. We've got to take a 2-minute commercial break. We'll be right back. Exo-Nation Mark Edward is our special guest. He's the author of a great new book entitled Psychic Blues, Confessions of a Conflicted Medium. www.themarkedward.com is his website, and Mark and I will be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Exo-Nation, Mark Edward is our special guest. He's a professional mentalist who specializes in magic of the mind. He spent over 25 years in world-class venues, from high-end nightclubs and theaters to hundreds of private party and corporate gigs. As one of only 5 specially chosen and trained mediums in history of Hollywood's famed Magic Castle, he has performed 15 years of seances that helped him perfect the role of spirit medium and psychic entertainer. During this time, he wrote several books on the subject and appeared on television as both primary consultant and on-air performer in such diverse programming as A&E's biography Houdini, The Great Escape, NBC's The Other Side, and the Psychic Secrets Revealed, the Sci-Fi Channel's Mysteries, Magic and Miracles, the Discovery Channel's Forces Beyond, and most recently on 2 episodes of the Learning Channel's Exploring the Unknown. His featured segment as spirit medium on the pilot episode of Showtime's Penn and Teller's Bullshit serves a series entitled Speaking with the Dead, helped secure an Emmy Award nomination for that episode in 2002. He continues to be consulted by media for his knowledge of spiritualism, psychic frog, and ghost Did I say psychic frog? Yeah, I think I did. Psychic fraud. Talk about a slip of the tongue. All right. And ghost lore. His website is www.themarkedward.com. The name of his book is Psychic Blues, Confessions of a Conflicted Medium. And where did Psychic Frog come from? I have no idea.
Maybe there is one somewhere. I'd love to test it. That would be fantastic. That's what we need is just a testable frog.
There you go. Tell me something, Mark. With all the experience and expertise you have, is there such a thing as a real psychic?
I wish there was, because it would make my job a lot easier. I've spent probably 35 years in search of what I call a modest intuitive or psychic. And I'm sorry to say that I don't think so. Otherwise, our conception of reality would be quite different. That person, I mean, again, psychic, you have to really define what you mean by psychic. But if you're talking about somebody who could control natural forces and cause things to happen, like objects to move or know the future or any of the myriad of things that psychics claim to be able to do, then that person would probably be one of the most dangerous people on the planet. And in my experience, I've brushed up pretty close to some people that had some interesting abilities. I wouldn't call them paranormal, but the truth of the matter is those people, the last thing they want to do is go on a road show selling tickets to people to come and talk to dead people and their dead relatives. In other words, they're hiding out. They don't want anybody to know anything about what they do because it's frightening. I mean, if you imagine what it would actually be like to be able to read people's thoughts or hear what they're thinking, it's not something that you go on David Letterman or Jay Leno with. You are a hunted person, and my example I like to give is if you use telekinesis, and people say they can move objects with their mind. Well, if you could move a telecommunications satellite, an inch off of its orbit, you would be a pretty dangerous person, and there would be a lot of people who would want to lock you up and put wires in your head. So, take a look at the reality. The reality is that it's tricks and it's subterfuge and it's a skill based on just a bunch of baloney. So there's absolutely no scientific proof for any of it, and that's what I do. I try and search out for that.
So why is it then shows like the Jersey Psychic or this Jersey Medium, whatever that show is so popular and people actually believe the crap that they see on a so-called reality TV show? Is it because we want there to be more to life than there really is?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what religion is based on. I mean, you really want to take it down to the wire. We're going to have to stand up and challenge a lot of spiritual beliefs too, and that's a tough call.
Yeah,
I'm not really at that point in my life. I call myself an agnostic, bordering on atheism. In other words, I don't have the arrogance to say I have all the answers, and I think that's a good stand to take. But people want to believe, and they'll do anything. They'll make connections. They'll confirm things that are just wild guesses, and put links together that are so outrageous. It's hard to believe sometimes because they want the performer, and it is a performance art, believe me. They want the performer to be right. They don't. It's not like magic. If you're doing a magic trick and you screw up, it gets a few laughs and people feel bad for you. But when you're saying you're reading somebody's mind or you're telling them about their so-called dead ancestors, people want you to be right, and they will just take the ball and run with it. I mean, I've had several experiences where I've just been knocked off my feet by people who, I can say basically anything with conviction because of what a real, if there was a real person, and this is just to back up for a second.
Sure.
If you listen to the current crop of mediums, all they do is ask questions. They say, does this mean anything to you? Who's the initial M? Who's this? Who just had a baby? Who lost their necklace? Blah, blah, blah. The real thing is, if you were the real deal, you would make bold statements as fact. You would just point to somebody and say, you did this, or this happened, or your house burned down, or you... That's what a real so-called psychic would do. And I don't see any of that. I don't know about you, but bold statements as fact, you can still get away with that as a performer, but to back it up with verifiable information, that's what I'm interested in.
You know, I've been doing this show now for 20 years, and I have had well over 3,800 guests on this show. Psychics, mediums, spiritualists, you name it, I've talked to them. And out of all those that I've had on the show, there has not been one that has given me any evidence that would make me believe that they knew what the hell they were talking about. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. And my question to them is, if you're psychic, why don't you, discover the next stock split? Why don't you figure out the numbers for the lottery or the Super Bowl? And they say, well, we can't use our psychic abilities for our own good. For
personal gain. Yeah. Well, that line's been around for, I don't know, hundreds of years. And I always get a laugh when I hear it because, they won't use their powers for personal gains, but they're not averse to selling out huge arenas and going on the road and selling tickets for $200 or $300 a seat and charging up to $700 for a half-hour reading.
Yeah.
So they don't use their powers for personal gain. Right.
Then when they actually do get caught with their foot in their mouth, and the example I'm thinking of is when I think was Sylvia Brown was on the show with Montel Williams.
Oh, don't get me started on her. But anyway.
Hey, listen, she's not in my book of favorites either, pal.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
She's telling these people that their son or the member of their family is dead, and he pops up alive. There should be some.
Or they're alive and they turn up dead.
Exactly.
Even worse.
And they should be held to some responsibility. Here in Canada,
they're not.
Here in Canada,
that's why I wrote this book.
You see, here in Canada, in the Criminal Code of Canada, it is illegal to tell fortunes for a consideration, which is money.
Mm-hmm.
And yet,
I wish that would happen in other countries too.
Well, you see, nobody enforces it here because they put the little disclaimer on for entertainment purposes only.
Right. Well, they still do that. There are a lot of mediums that are raking it in right now in the U.S. If you read to the very bottom of their website, and very tiny print is they disavow any responsibility. But the fact is that they are responsible for the whole police, the psychic detective thing. There is not one credible shred of evidence that any psychic has ever helped the police solve a crime. And yet this is a big thing, and Dr. Phil right now here in the U.S. is gearing up to do a series of shows on psychic detectives. It's totally unproven. And in fact, it's a publicity angle that's been used by psychics and mediums since the 30s.
Yeah.
What you do is you show up on someone's doorstep who has a missing child, and you throw out a couple of, reasonable guesses, educated guesses, and then you go to the media and say, "I helped the police," and it's just absolutely disgusting. There should be a law against that too, but that's on the rise, and it's like you see more and more of this happening, and it's out of control. The one thing I'm looking at right now, I won't mention any names, but there are several people who have TV shows where they're taking children who've lost their parents or their guardian, and they're so-called helping the child talk to their dead parents, and it's they're already traumatized.
Exactly.
They're already in need of counseling, and they're just making it worse. And this is called reality television, and it's on the Learning Channel or the History Channel or the Discovery Channel. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
All we're learning is how to, effectively destroy a person's life on live television, or it's usually edited, but it's supposed to look live, so it's absolutely out of control.
It certainly is.
It's edited. The real wizards on these shows are not the mediums, they're the editors.
But you know what? People should realize that anything on TV has to have an entertainment value, or else it wouldn't be on. Like, what was that Penn State ghost hunter show?
Yeah.
That was all debunked. Somebody decided they'd had enough with the crap, and it was, they blew the whistle. Well, no kidding. And then Chip
Right.
Coffey and his Hocus Pocus Baloney Act, and
and there's another one. That's the one I was going to talk about. That's the one that I was alluding to.
yeah.
Who has the child psychic thing.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called. It was called Psychic Children.
That's
or
right.
Something like that.
I called it
Unbelievable.
psychic bull crap.
Yeah. Well, he's a prime offender, and I'm happy to say I was thrown out of the Biltmore Hotel for protesting his show that he did here in L.A. a couple months ago. So he knows we're out there. He knows that people who are critical and rational thinkers are on his trail. And I have to say, Chip is one of those guys that really is very paranoid right now.
All right, stand by, Mark. You and I have to take our news break. Let's come back and talk about this, as well as Sylvia Brown, because she's a thorn under my foot as well.
Yeah.
Mark Edward is our special guest. Great guy. TheMarkEdward.com is his website. We'll be back to tell you how to get a copy of his new book. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies,
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows,
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
And speaking about the Magic Man, we have Mark Edward with us. He's got a new book out, X-Zone Nation. It is entitled Psychic Blues, Confessions of a Conflicted Medium. Mark's website is www.themarkedward.com. That's www.themarkedward.com. Mark, first of all, I want to thank you so much for being with us. It's a great pleasure talking to you.
It's great to be with you too.
I've got a lot of respect for Penn and Teller. I think that this is what the industry needs more of. People like you, Penn and Teller out there, actually, being entertaining, but also bringing credibility to the craft again. Because I believe with all the, the psychic mumbo jumbo, you've got Miss Cleo, you've got Diane Warwick, you've got Kinney Kingston, and to me, all these people are doing is raking in the dollars on the troubles and not heart problems, but the bad luck that people are having. And I thank the good Lord that the FCC in the United States and the CRTC here in Canada banned the infomercials overnight when people are most vulnerable.
Yeah, well, and also people are not only most vulnerable overnight, but we're in an economic disaster, and it's like these, I call them grief vampires, at least the ones who pretend to talk to the dead. They're pulling money, the last bit of money out of the hands of the people who need it the most. And they have no compassion. They don't care. They don't do disclaimers. They don't, unless you read their tiny little fine print.
Yeah.
And so, they're doing more damage than anybody I can think of, emotionally at least. It's just, like I keep saying, it's an out of control situation. And Canada, I'm glad Canada and the UK and some other countries are actually doing something about it. But here in the United States, I hate to say it, but what happens is a lot of the mediums, they will start their sessions with a prayer. And by doing that, they get under the wire of, freedom of speech and their religious rights.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is the way it's been for a long time. So it kind of it takes the heat off them a little bit. But what it really does to me that's the biggest sign of cowardice, is hiding behind the Bible or hiding behind religion, because it isn't a religion. It's a money-making, for-profit scam. The biggest one. I really would believe that we are right now in, I call it the golden age of the con. If you look at the turn of the century, the spiritualism movement, and the Fox sisters and the people who started it, that's nothing compared to what's going on now, because now we have crowdsourcing and social media on computers. If you buy a ticket to my show, I can use Facebook, I can use Foursquare, I can use Twitter. I can find everything I need to know about you, especially if your seat is numbered. If your seat is numbered and you bought a ticket through Ticketron here in the United States, I can find out everything about you before you even arrive at the theater. And it's unreal. I mean, it's a mentalist dream, but it's a nightmare for people who are not aware that when you put your information up on the internet, you're putting your information up all over the world.
Yep.
And it only takes somebody that has a professional. You don't even have to be a professional hacker. You just have to be somebody who understands social media. I can find out who your first grade teacher is.
Mm-hmm.
Or was, rather.
Yeah. So like I've often said that the internet is the biggest septic tank ever created by mankind, and that ever since the internet has become such a viable entity for making money, I've seen the psychic business just go crazy. Everybody's a psychic.
Yeah, well, everybody is a psychic, and I can tell you that it takes very little skill to become one. All it takes is the ability to be able to lie with a straight face.
Wow. Sylvia Brown.
I hate to say that because I really, I would like to, maybe when I started out in magic when I was a kid, I was one of those kids when I was growing up in high school, whenever we had those scholastic books, and they were like, I forget the name of the author, but, they were like the Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, yeah.
Unexplained stories. Remember those?
I sure do.
And you'd read one, they'd be one paragraph long, and they'd be like a really wild Twilight Zone-like story. I loved all that stuff, and I still do. I read ghost stories a little bit every night. I love fiction.
Yeah.
But fiction and reality have become blurred. To the extreme.
It certainly has. And, people like Chip Coffey and Sylvia Brown, they take advantage of the people who should be protected most, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, people are free to spend their money however they want to. I mean, you can buy a gun and blow your head off, too, if you want to, but, it's not really going to help your family or the people who are interested in your well-being to do so. So that's why my book is kind of a consumer, buyer beware book above everything else, because, again, if you find somebody that you can talk to and they help you with your problem, I don't have a problem with that. Or if it's entertainment and you're at a Halloween party or you're at some kind of event and there's somebody reading palms or something, I'm not after those people. I'm after the people like Chip and Sylvia and John Edward and Dan Prague, and the list continues to mount. I mean, it's just every day another one's coming up. Teresa Caputo, she's the latest one. I mean, if you've seen her on her show or you've seen her in person, she is the latest thing. I mean, now what we're seeing, we're getting away from the sort of new agey mediums and psychics that used to wear, tie-dye and beads and bells and all that. And now we're into the era, I call it the fuzzy pink sweater era, where it's the girl next door, She's just, she raises a family by day and raises the dead at night. It's like, what? They're dumbing down America to the point of where you don't really have to be spiritually or metaphysically enlightened anymore. You're just the girl next door who sees dead people. and that's really dangerous to me, because that leaves the door open for more people to come in who have absolutely no talent and no spiritual aspirations whatsoever. They're just good bullshit artists, if you'll excuse my French.
You know, we had a death investigator on the show yesterday, as a matter of fact. His name is, Joseph Scott Morgan. And he's a he's a death investigator. He's attended over 7,000 autopsies. He's done over 2,000 death investigations. And he says he gets asked by many people, especially at parties when they find out what he does, "Have you ever seen a ghost?" And he said, "No. The dead are dead. They don't come back."
Yeah.
So,
not that we know of.
But when you look at shows,
I mean, again, it's up to the people who make those claims to prove it.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't prove a negative. So, I mean, we don't know whether they come back or not. But the way I look at it is, what is more likely, that this person is using information that they got, it's called pre-show and mentalism, for you when you come into their show, or are they talking to your dead grandmother? Which is more likely? I mean, it's the duh factor. What is wrong with people?
Yeah.
They want to believe so much that they're willing to just leave behind logic, and that's what it just amazes me, and that's why I tried in my book. You probably noticed I tried to use a lot of humor.
Yes.
Because to me, it's absurd, and it's kind of like a surrealistic world to be involved in when you find yourself dealing with people who don't have any critical thinking. And I think the more paranormal programming, we've reached a tipping point where now there's a generation of kids growing up that just don't know any better. I'm meeting people every day that, I say, there are no ghosts. They're like, what? You mean those TV shows aren't real? They just don't know to think any differently. And that, to me, I mean, these are people who are going to vote. They're people who are going to have families. They're going to, own homes and guns. And, I mean, where are we headed with all this? I had a guy working a job that I did. He was a security guard. He carries a gun. And his job, he's tasked with making this environment protected. And I had a short conversation with him, and he was like, what? You mean those ghost shows aren't real? Me and my wife and I, we watch those every day. And
oh, boy.
They're not real? I mean, this guy's packing heat. And he's in charge of watching, a building for anything suspicious. So, I mean, sooner or later, something's got to give here where, I mean, I don't think we can legislate morality, but we can certainly, like with my book, try and make people aware of how silly that is. I would not want to have somebody who's carrying a gun shooting at shadows that he thinks are shadow people, or a shadow government, or UFOs, or whatever it is. But that's what's being promulgated by the media.
It's scary. No two ways of.
It's just as bad as the gun laws here in America. I mean, you shouldn't have an automatic weapon. You don't need it. You don't need a ghost hunting tool. And that's another thing. The guys that say they're ghost hunters and they have all these so-called tools for finding them, there's no logic there, because first of all, we don't know what a ghost is. And until somebody can figure that out, we do all agree that they are non-material entities. They're non-physical. So what makes them think that if you use a thermometer or a piece of equipment that's used for testing electrical wiring or finding studs in the wall, why should that be able to find a ghost? It's like you just ask these guys that one question and it falls apart.
It's just like the guys who hunt Bigfoot. It's just like the people who hunt or go after UFOs, and the list goes on and on and on. Like I said, over 20 years, no matter what part of the paranormal you're talking about, no one has ever provided any physical evidence to support any of their claims.
Not a shred.
Not a shred.
Otherwise, our reality would be quite different. That's what I tell people. I said, if ghosts could talk to us, I mean, this is what I've challenged many mediums with. I said, look, you can talk to dead people, if you can call up spirits, why not get in touch with the spirit of Albert Einstein and ask him how to neutralize all the nuclear weapons on the planet, all at once?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that would be helping mankind. That would be making a contribution to society. But no, they'd rather tell you that Grandma had a garden and wore a green hat, and it's just, think it through, when you hear these people. Think it through, because it's just, they do sometimes get incredible hits, and you wonder, how did they do that? But I wonder that when I see a good magician, too. I wonder, how did they do that? And I want to know the secret. But I don't base my life on it. You might as well base your life on what a fortune cookie says.
Exactly. How can you or how can the rest of society stop people who are really bad for society? And once again, I'm going to talk about Sylvia Browne because everybody knows her. And what is it, $700 for a half-hour reading with her? Or something ridiculous?
Yeah, well, I just recently did a protest against her in Las Vegas about 4 months ago. And what you do is you get a grassroots group, you join a skeptic group, and believe it or not, there are a lot of skeptic groups. There are a lot of people like us that have had it up to here. And once you find out about them, you'll find out that it's a huge underground sort of movement right now. It hasn't reached the point where the news media are listening to us, but there are groups all over the world who are, what they do is they mobilize. You get a group of people and you mobilize. For example, in Las Vegas, we have 2 huge banners that say Sylvia Browne convicted felon, because I don't know if you know this, but she's a convicted felon for financial fraud.
Wow.
She took money that she said was going to go to a foundation, and she spent it on herself. And she was convicted in court. So we got a couple vinyl banners made that say Sylvia Browne convicted felon, and we show up wherever we can and whenever we can at her performances. And we hand out leaflets on, we have a list of the names of the people. If you go to Sylvia Browne on Wikipedia, which is totally negative, there's no positive facts about her on Wikipedia because, hey, guess what? Wikipedia, you have to have facts.
Yep.
You cannot just put up anecdotes. So we've got a collection of names of the people that she was dead wrong about, which are just about everybody. And we printed those out and made flyers, and we made flyers on cold reading techniques, a couple hundred of those. And we stood in front of the casino that she was at on the sidewalk, which is totally legal, and we called her out. We said, convicted felon, Sylvia Browne. Here's how she does what she does.
Mark, stand by. I've got to take my final break. When we come back, let's finish this off. Mark Edward is our special guest, X-Zone Nation. He's got a brand new book out called Psychic Blues. Confessions of a Conflicted Medium, www.themarkedward.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, Visit www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies,
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows,
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
And welcome back, everyone. Mark Edward is our special guest this hour. He's got a brand new book out entitled Psychic Blues, Confessions of a Conflicted Medium. It'd be a great gift, not only for Halloween-y, but also for Christmas. Great book for anybody's library. Once again, the name of his book is Psychic Blues, Confessions of a Conflicted Medium. Now, here's a couple of websites, Exo Nation. First of all, www.themarkedward.com. That's www.themarkedward.com. He also has www.skeptologists.com and www.skepticblog.org. And we'll have all this information up on our website later on today. Mark, we were just finishing off talking about Sylvia Browne, and I'd like to know more about the skeptic movement that's out there and how people listening to the show tonight can actually get involved.
Well, there's a branch of what is called the IIG, which is comes out of New York, CFI, Center for Inquiry.
Oh yeah, great people.
They have Skeptical Inquirer magazine. Yep. And we have affiliate groups. We have one in Edmonton right now. They're popping up all over the United States. We have Atlanta, New York, San Francisco, Colorado, Hollywood. They're happening. They're happening all over the place. And the idea is get involved and do something.
Yep.
Because you'll find that there are a lot of people that think the same way we do, and they're banding together, and it's grassroots. And you go out and you do something, and it's not only helping, you'll feel a lot better when you do this, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun to throw some mud on Sylvia Browne. When you go to my website, you can see the video I did where I punked her. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
I don't have time to go into it, but you can see what I did where I punked her, and you can also see the video of where we went out on the street in Las Vegas. And we've done chip coffee, and there's a big one coming up. I'll give you a heads up.
Okay.
On Inside Edition. I can't tell you exactly who it is, but during Sweep Week in November, you'll be seeing me and several other people doing a really big operation, which is going to blow the lid off one of the biggies. So it's really going to be exciting. So get involved. I mean, there's no excuse. Sit around and grumble and groan and say how bad it is. Does not do any good. You just get frustrated. You can get involved, and you can go out and feel a whole lot better. And you'll find that there are people who will just join up with you and say, wow, this is the truth. You're fighting for the truth. Remember, we're on the side of good here.
Yeah,
it's really exciting.
I've had the opportunity of having Joe Nickel on the show a number of times.
Oh, yeah. Joe's a good friend.
He's a great guy. And, Mark, I want to thank you ever so much for coming on the show tonight. I know Halloween is your busy season, and I thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us here tonight in the X Zone.
It's my pleasure, anytime.
Yeah, well, we're going to have you back on because this is a subject I will not let get away. Exo Nation.
I appreciate that. I'm so glad you're on the good side. I wasn't sure, I wasn't sure how it was going to go because there's so many paranormal shows, you never know.
Well, this one
but
here.
That's good. Thank you so much.
It's been my great pleasure. And Exo Nation, once again, if you'd like to get a copy of Mark's book, themarkedward.com, www.themarkedward.com. And the name of his book is Psychic Blues, Confessions of
and
a Conflicted
relation,
Medium.
No relation to John Edward. Let's make that clear, too.
Mark, take care of yourself. Great talking to you, and keep up the great work,
All
my
right.
friend. Bye-bye now. Exo Nation, we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the hour as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.